Welcome everybody to Triple Threat Panel. This is one of Advent's signature events, and we basically pull three experts together and we get to hear their perspectives on one topic so we can all learn, grow, and build connections with each other. My name is Lisa Speer. I'll be the moderator today. I also run a business called Speerhead Solutions, and I help new businesses create their brand and existing businesses strengthen their brand so they can make a strong first impression and bring out their true vision, values, and vibe. I also want to thank Mike, who's on our panel today. He is the one who helps me with all the behind-the-scenes support, but he also, you might have seen in the promos, he was not listed on this. So last night, Jessica got sick, and so we wanted to make sure and keep everybody safe. So we opted to, even if it's just allergies, just be safe. And Mike is being willing to chip in with his expertise as well, which I know he's going to have a lot to offer. And then lastly, I want to thank the Queen City Podcast Network for recording this event, and of course, Advent for hosting and providing us with free lunch. So in terms of getting started today, what I want to do is actually let everybody on the panel introduce themselves. But first, I just wanted to say, you know, the topic today is on how business relationships are changing. And I think we could all say over the last 2 years that with the pandemic, you know, things have changed personally and professionally. And so we really do want to learn and grow from each other and kind of see what trends are happening and how it's working in our own businesses and then also with our clients' businesses. So we're going to start. I'm going to ask a question. It's actually 3 quick questions as icebreakers. And today, normally we go mixing it up, but today I'm going to go in order just this way so Mike can have just a little more time to think about his answers since he just jumped in.
I appreciate it.
So you guys will all have the same series of questions. So we'll start with Joan. Who are you? What do you do? And what is the favorite thing that you like to do when you're off the clock?
So first of all, let me just say I'm so honored and excited to be here. Thank you for having me on this panel. My name is Joan Randall. I am the co-executive director of the Boost Pad. And the Boost Pad is a nonprofit organization that helps startup entrepreneurs by providing them with community coaching and capital so that they can launch their business the right way and be successful and create legacies. I'm also the founder of Victorious You Press, which is an independent publishing company where we help spiritual leaders and individuals of faith to write and publish their bestsellers so they can monetize their impact and create businesses and leave legacies as well. My favorite thing that I like to do when I'm not at work is dance to TikTok.
Nice. I love it. Well, you bring a lot of energy when you come in the room, so I could totally see that happening.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go with Kim next.
Thank you very much. My name is Kim Bratton, and I am the founder and CEO of Kim Bratton Media. We are a multi-service production company, and I'm a television veteran. I was an anchorwoman for more years than I care to share with you. And we also do a lot of public relations too. We have a documentary that's streaming on PBS now. We've won 6 tallies in the last 2 years. And I sound so braggy, I apologize, but I'm excited about it.
No, own it, own it.
Own it, girl.
Own it, baby. Okay, yeah, I'm on it. And then what else was I going to say? In my time off, I hang out with my family and my 3 dogs.
Love it. Okay, Mike.
I want to know if Joan's making TikTok videos or just dancing to them, because either one sounds like
nice.
A lot of fun. And it's great to always, yes, you're allowed to humble brag all you want, Kim. I know you're doing some awesome stuff. So my name is Mike Barugel, and Lisa kind of already gave a little quick intro. I work for the Small Business and Technology Development Center here in the Charlotte area. Long name, still long acronym, SBTDC. We essentially help make small businesses better through counseling and advising, trainings and seminars, resources, and things like that. And I also have my own business, Fit, where we help coaches and consultants streamline and scale their business. So what do I do? What does off the clock mean? I don't know what that means.
It's just not really, it's nothing professional, just off the clock when your
downtime.
Like, I know. And I know you don't have a lot of time off the clock.
Don't let your
Lisa
mind
knows.
go there.
Lisa knows. Yeah. No, I do have a lot of hobbies, too many that I end up not really doing any of them enough. But I do like to play music. So probably slapping the bass at home, playing along with some songs. Not unlike your TikTok dancing. So
Maybe we can work together and make some TikTok.
I love it. Let's do it.
So next, we're going to actually dig into some real questions that everyone can, learn and benefit from. So the first one is, what types of structured groups are you turning now to for connection, inspiration, growth, or support? And this can be for you or what you see your clients doing. So we'll start with you, Joan.
So I have a mastermind, and it's a mastermind for coaches like myself and people who are in the publishing industry. But I also curate my own mastermind that I have participants in, so that what I learn, I teach. And I think it's important that we bring others along the journey, because the space of entrepreneurship can be very lonely. And so when it comes on to relationships and groups, it's important that we get people that are aligned, first of all, in the core values, so that they are able to work together and build on, whether it is relationship from a human perspective or relationship from a business perspective. But it's important that we help each other and provide support for each other.
Definitely. Okay. How about you, Kim?
Well, one thing that I can't say enough is that you've got to network, because people buy and people work with people they know. And so you've got to establish those relationships, and relationships are everything. We are members of the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance. We just met somebody that we were with in Austin a couple weeks ago. I'm a member of the Charlotte Rotary Club, which I love because they got great core values. And also we're members of the Association of Fundraising Professionals. And those are just the associations we belong to.
Mhm.
You can write all that stuff off. So yeah, do it. You make great contacts. Let me see if there was anything else. I also went through Emerging Leaders. It was a program at Central Piedmont that was tremendous. Really started me thinking about my business, not just like as a creative endeavor, but as a business.
Mhm.
I said earlier that my background is journalism, and that does not qualify you to do any kind of business stuff.
Like most of us, we
Yeah.
didn't have business training. I
No.
would say 99% of at least people here haven't had an MBA.
Yeah. So,
So,
I
yeah.
mean, so that any help you can get. So I went through Emerging Leaders, and now I'm involved with the Business Model Accelerator with my friend Mike here. And that has been tremendous too, because it has kind of given me the bird's eye view of things, and all of
Mhm.
these crazy ideas that are bashing around in my head are kind of taking some structure and becoming concrete. So network, and get into any kind of nurturing program you can.
Yeah, nurturing is really important.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Mike.
Yeah, I feel like you just set me up for that one. That was great. Yeah, so kind of in a nutshell, I feel like, through the last couple of years, one of the things that COVID sort of forced me to do more of and realize is that I really enjoy facilitating, and something I had done sort of casually in previous jobs, but I now find myself in a mastermind where I'm participating with Lisa and some others here at Advent Co-working, which has been almost 2 years, I think we've been running now, which has been so helpful in so many ways, personally and professionally. And I've now taken that model and I've tried to figure out how can I apply that to other things other groups that I'm a part of, that I'm facilitating, like the program that you're in, Kim, that we're going to be doing masterminds, and some other things I do with online businesses. So I've just realized that I really value that structured time together, where there is a focus. We know that space and that time is for us to put our minds together and figure out how to solve problems together. That hopefully we can give and take a little bit with others, but I've found that I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And can I add something?
Yes,
to that,
please.
Lisa? I was just going to say, to whom much is given, much is required. So as we are participating in these groups, there's people out there that want the support that don't know. So how do we find them and bring them into a group so that we can give them the support? How do we, market what we're doing so we can get people that are not in groups to say, hey, here is a structure, here is something that you can be a part of, and it can help you on the journey of whatever it is you want to do, whether it's career or entrepreneurship, so it's up to us now to create those spaces so others can be involved, or we can invite others in.
Yeah, and it's the core of BoostPad, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, in addition to what you're doing in your own
Yes.
business, the core of BoostPad is all about providing resources and a space for people to learn and grow and get access.
Absolutely.
Mike?
I'll just add one more thing. I mean, so we're here at Advent. I was just explaining to Kim how I've been a member here for over 4 years and how it's been the hub for me as a professional since I've moved to Charlotte. And I think it's pretty special here and it's pretty unique. There are also lots of other co-working spaces in town. And I just think as folks and businesses are starting to figure out what this new world of work looks like, I think, like Joan, like you said, there's just going to be more of an emphasis on finding our little micro communities and finding those support networks. And I think co-working spaces might really be a great place to start those connections.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it's so funny because, yesterday, one of my strategy clients, we were chatting about a few things and she's like, do you know anyone for PR? I was like, yes, Erin Breeden with Blue Tide Creative. Do you know someone that might be able to do some Facebook ads for me? And I was like, well, there's Social Grit and, on and on. And Mike's name came up, of course, for his fit business in terms of like business processes and operations. So it's just really great. Like one client in one conversation, I have 3 Advent people that I know really well and I can refer. So definitely big shout out to Advent. And this is not a sales pitch. It's just true. It's just real. I'm a member here. I've been a member for 7 years now, and it is my hub too. Like I was 6 months into living in Charlotte when I joined Advent, and it has been my home base for the growth of my business here in Charlotte. So yeah. Okay. So what are you looking for in your business relationships, and how does that look different than in the past? And so particularly thinking about maybe over the last 2 years, how things have changed, what you're looking for in business relationships.
So I'm so glad you asked that question right after you talk about the Advent co-working space, because people are now more comfortable doing things online. And I think that's what the pandemic did for us. It showed us that you can create those micro spaces right online. And when I think about even my own business, as I said, I'm an international publisher. So I even service people in Africa, publish their books. But I would never have been able to do that. Or let me just say it this way. I never thought that would have been possible before COVID, because here I am thinking I only need to service people in the Charlotte, probably the regional area, but COVID made me understand that there's such a bigger reach online. And because people were online, and it's so funny, in 2020, my business soared, quadrupled.
That's amazing.
Because people were sitting at home, they were worried, but they could write. They pick up the pen and they wrote. And so the publishing world quadrupled in 2020 and 2021. So
that's incredible.
Yeah. So I just think that the online space too, and you said, different, the online space created this way for us to reach others outside of our little niche that we have.
Yeah. And that's a big shift for you, because you were saying you did most of your business, I think when we were talking in person, right?
Yeah, I used to do most of it in person. You come, you meet with me, and we talk about your book. Now everything is so beautiful. I love it. Zoom, sign the contract, and we're on. And you could be in Nairobi.
Yeah,
we still get it done.
That's great.
So, yeah.
So how about you, Kim?
Well, I love the fact that you can hold a meeting with Zoom like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just wonderful.
Yeah.
I tire of Zoom, however,
Right.
if I've got a really great client on the line, I will definitely take them to lunch or dinner or coffee or whatever.
Mhm.
But I feel like when I am just talking on the phone now, I mean, you just miss so much. With Zoom,
Yeah.
you can see their expression.
Yeah.
That said, I didn't realize I was going to be Zooming with a conference room of people last week out of Washington, DC, which might not have been my client prior to COVID. But yeah, I had no idea whether or not we bombed with them or not, because you just can't see their faces. They're so small on the screen. But COVID did not hurt my business. I think if anything, people realized that they needed to find creative ways to tell their
Yeah.
story and stay connected with clients. So, it made us a little bit more valuable, I think. And we started hosting meetings, live meetings. So
Has these last 2 years, like it's been great for your business, but have you decided to be pickier with your clients? Do you feel like you've, like, is there anything else with the relationships that you're looking for that's changed?
good
Because
question.
sometimes with more
Yes,
opportunities,
yes.
you attract a bigger range of people. And like,
Mhm.
is that a great thing or is it something you're becoming pickier about?
I don't think we're becoming more selective, really. I think we're realizing that we're really more talented than we realize. Like
That's great.
one of our new hires, Natalie Dick, was with the CRBA. She was vice president of communications, and she also worked as a news reporter, and she's got this magic skill. She can get just about anybody on TV.
Can you repeat that? Because that car went by and I'm not sure we heard that.
She's got a magic skill. She can get just about anybody on TV because she realizes what will make good TV and how to pitch something so that it's interesting. I don't think Natalie's ever sent out a news release. That's just, it ain't the way to do it, right?
Yeah. How about you, Mike? How are you shifting in what you want out of business relationships?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what's changed. I think if anything, like Joan, you mentioned the efficiency of Zoom and being able to make decisions more quickly. I think people just, once there was the initial resistance and people just accepted that this is how we're operating, at least for a while, I think people just got used to it and started to figure out, okay, how can I make the best use of this time that I do have with this person on this call? And so in some sense, like my efficiency brain likes the structure of having 30-minute calls or an hour, or whatever it is. But in terms of the relationships and, that sort of thing, what I have noticed, similar to what you were just talking about, like, or both of you actually, is I'm starting to have conversations with people that are, I don't know how I would have ever met them before. And it's just like, it's really cool. Part of communities where maybe I took a course and now I have access to a community and I'm now talking to these other people all over the world that have common interests and are trying to do similar things, whether they're creators or starting their own businesses or starting their own communities. And there's just a lot of like cool masterminding, even just in the informal setting of being in like a virtual group together. So I've seen that even more, and also like having actual, conversations with people in that sense. I will say, it's nice to be back in person, and it's nice to have like faces around. And even though I tend to have more introverted tendencies, like I've noticed even just like going out to have a drink with people just feels so nice again. So think I'm still figuring out this balance of, I like the structure and like not letting things get out of hand. If you like, don't want to cross that bridge and not be, be more than a professional acquaintance with somebody. But sometimes you do want to like hang out with your friends again. And sometimes those relationships are mixed. And I think that's nice. So I'm still figuring out what that looks like.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed is I saw someone at Advent that I hadn't seen in a long time. And we're not even that close. And I was just like, oh my God, how are you doing? And I was like overly excited for the interaction. And I was just like, I'm just so glad to see people that I know here. And I think that's something that I'm noticing is just certain things just feel more precious. Like I feel like there was a lot of stuff that we took for granted prior to COVID. And now when I get to do those things or see those clients or network or any of those things, they just feel more precious to me. So anyway, which also kind of leads into the next question. I hear a lot of people discussing how they're being more selective with their time and energy, both in building relationships and maintaining them. So I'm curious, like, any ways that you see yourself doing this or your clients, because maybe you're not changing that much, but maybe your clients are. Start with you, Joan.
Yeah. So from a time management perspective, I was always bad at that. I wasn't structured in time management. And prior to COVID, I'm an extrovert. So I loved people. I love to be around people. And when COVID happened, it made me depressed because I recognized that human connection that I needed to thrive off, that was no longer. And so for me, it was a stretch getting into the whole virtual space, but I recognized something about me. It taught me something about myself that I never knew that I had, that it was okay to connect outside of being next to you in a room. And so because of that, it just allowed me to grow a little bit more. But from a time perspective, you know, I needed to balance my time better. And so I have to teach my clients that it is important. So if I have an appointment 10, 15, and they're late by 10 minutes, they have to reschedule. So as we become better, or as I become a better entrepreneur and a better leader and is structuring my time better and having the discipline for my time, I have to teach that to my clients. And in teaching them that is letting them know we're here at 10. If it's 10:10 and you're not here, it's done. It's canceled. You have to reschedule. So I think it's teaching them how to, you know, what our expectations are.
But it's cool. You saw it in yourself first.
Oh,
and then-
yes.
And then you can
And then I had to
translate
change
that.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah.
How about you, Kim?
I realized that I had to quit working in my business and if I wanted to work on my business.
Mhm.
So that's just been huge because, you know, you have to step back from a project. I can't go out on shoots really. I can't write stuff. I need to get somebody else to do it so that I have time to work on my business. And that wasn't necessarily a COVID thing. That was just I wish I'd realized that about a decade ago. You know what I'm saying?
But sometimes we notice these things when we have a
Yeah.
different set of situations. And I think sometimes those things just come more to light
Yeah.
when something's changed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and yeah, maybe I grew up a little bit during COVID. It was about damn time. But I guess that answers the question.
Yeah. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm like over here loving what you guys are both saying. Definitely, I mean, what you talked about, Joan, about those boundaries, I do the same thing. And I tend to be a very kind person for the most part, or at least I try to be, but don't waste my time. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to show up 15 minutes late to a meeting that you accepted is on your calendar, there's no excuse. And I'll have clients like join the Zoom. I'll wait 10 minutes, maybe 15 if it's the first call, just to make sure there wasn't something haywire or whatever. But if they show up on that Zoom afterwards, they start calling me and emailing me, I don't respond right away. I'm already moved on to my next thing, which is truthful. I got other things to do. So anyway, I just want to echo that. I think that's so important, is educating people to respect your time, you know, and to do the same for them for sure. And whatever they're doing with their clients. So I really like that. So a lot of learning, I would say, over the last couple of years about how to maintain boundaries. And that's been in personal and professional life. And that's been a really healthy thing, a healthy change, I think. But then also, like you were saying, Kim, so I've got a day job and a business and lots of other projects that I like to work on. And I'm realizing more and more, I need to figure out ways to not be in it all the time. And whenever I start to get sucked back into it, I've got folks on my mastermind that tell me, stop doing that, or at least notice your pattern. And I'm learning how to pull myself back up, and it happens, but it's happening less. And I'm starting to notice it better. And so I'm just trying to lean on my team more and more and communicate expectations and not worry so much about how things are getting done, but making sure I'm coaching the result that needs to happen. And I will say one last thing. There's been a switch in terms of how I communicate with team members that's been really helpful. It's an app we use called Voxer, and it's so we can leave each other quick voice messages. And I will say that has been a game changer for like my team at work, for my team in my business, because there are things that just take longer to write an email and aren't communicated the right way. If I can just leave you a 30-second message that just explains, and it has the tone of voice that needs to communicate it, that's just been such a nice change to do it that way.
And I would imagine that it's great too, because at this point, people getting phone calls, there's just so much spam. And like at this point, I think so many people are letting calls go to voicemail if they don't have that number in their phone. So it's like something your team agrees, like, hey, we're using this, which is really great.
For sure. And you have to have that buy-in. Sometimes people aren't wanting to learn a new thing, but totally.
Yeah. Was there something else you wanted to say, Joan?
No. I was
Okay.
just I was agreeing with, and we use Slack and I love Voxer because it's just this nice note. They get it, they respond. So yeah, those are some tools that you use that really helps a lot too.
One thing I've noticed as well is in a different mastermind I'm in, there's been a lot of conversation around not working with clients that suck your energy and time. And so I see a lot of people being a lot more selective and letting certain clients go that in the end just aren't a good fit. And they just don't have the bandwidth. I think that I like to say like my social stamina has decreased. I love people, but my social stamina has decreased. So it's kind of one of those things like if you have a client that sucks you dry or sucks your energy, I don't know. I just see a lot of people struggling with a different level of energy with all that's happening in the background these days. So I thought that was really interesting, just people being more willing to let clients go. And yes, it's money, but at the same time, what's that worth? What's your peace of mind? Right. So that's another trend I've seen. So what are some of the positive outcomes you guys see with disrupting business as usual and how business relationships are changing? So, we know there's some negatives, right? Like we all get Zoom fatigue and all that, but in terms of some of the positives, let's start with you again, Kim.
Well, she's international now.
Oh, sorry. I was like, oh, yay, go, Kim.
Oh, did you say Kim? I was like,
I'm sorry. Oh, so you can go. You can go first.
Okay, so I guess the question, just to recap, is
positive trends,
the positives of COVID. Well, you can get things done lickety split. I mean, it used to be you would schedule a meeting for Tuesday. Well, no, I can do it this afternoon. Let's get on a Zoom call, or you can have back-to-back Zoom calls, and you don't have to run all over town to do things,
right,
which is nice. And they don't have to come to your studio or whatever. So that's been positive. I think there is a real desire to connect, as you were saying too. And that may be something that we just learned from the hassle of COVID. We're kind of reminded of our humanity.
Yes, great word.
Okay, how about you, Joan?
So let me tell you what this showed me is that how similar we are, although our skin could be a different color. And so being able to be a part of like global stuff, because once a month I'm a part of a global chamber, and there are women and men that are from all around the world. And you recognize that they may not even speak the same language. They don't look the same as you. Their eye colors are different, but they have the same core values. And it makes me feel so incredible that I get to connect with others and learn about them, and they learn who I am. And so the human connection is so much more powerful for me because I've been able to have these really great relationships with people from the Philippines and Bali and, Japan and Africa, that we are so completely different because I'm Jamaican. I'm not, I'm an American citizen, but born Jamaican. And yet we have the same exact values and beliefs. And I love that. I love that I get to connect with people from all walks of life. And I think had it not been for me being shut away in 2020 and 21 with COVID, I don't know that I would have made those connections and recognize the true relationship and love for others.
Did you get business out of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there's another networking example.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and also I think, just knowing people are going through similar challenges too, like we all are dealing with a global pandemic. And so that's like a unifier that I don't think we've had as in our lifespan. Okay, Mike.
Totally. I mean, the thing you were just talking about with shared values, resonates deeply for me. And I've seen that more and more, with the shift, like I was talking about, to like participating more in online communities. it's cool to see, like at first it was just like, you're kind of lurking in the forums, you're trying to figure out what's going on, right? And maybe you're asking a question here and there and you're getting it answered, and all of a sudden, not all of the communities, there've been some I've been part of that were not great, but the ones that I'm sticking with, I found that like when I start to have conversations with people one-on-one or in a group setting, I find that like these are similar minded people, like, and they live in Amsterdam, like, and I like to travel, but I haven't been to a lot of Europe. It's cool to know that like there are some of these similar values in people across the world, that global reach thing that you were talking about. So I just think it's cool when you start to realize, like, again, the technology being able to open you up to these possibilities and seeing that someone from across the world could actually be a big help for you in many ways, either directly or changing your perspective or whatever, and vice versa. And I think that's really cool too. And talking about values, like feeling like you can give and support others that maybe are in a different industry or creating something totally different, but the technology allows you to connect in that way. So I just think that's really cool, and things that we weren't totally aware of before we were sort of forced to learn it.
That's like your podcast, right?
I do talk about values on the podcast. Yes.
Yeah, Mike has a podcast called Living Your Values. So this is near and dear to his heart.
I love that.
Well, one question I realized I skipped over that is a very important question is, I've really noticed a trend of mental health being discussed a lot more prevalently in professional settings. So I'm just curious, like what you guys are noticing with that as well. Like what are some of the places you might be hearing it talked about more? I know we've talked about it on Triple Threat Panel multiple times over the last couple of years in various forms. But Joan, where are you seeing it?
Yeah, I mean, even with the Boost Fad, because, we're helping early stage entrepreneurs build their business. And as I said earlier, entrepreneurship can be a lonely place. And sometimes people get overwhelmed and their thoughts of, am I good enough? Is this right for me? I know that I have this gift, I have this skill, I have this talent, but I don't know if I have all that it takes to be successful, right? And because of the pandemic and because of all the suicides and because of all the wartime world that we're living in now, people really get overwhelmed and anxious. And so it is important that whatever community we're in, whatever group we're in, whatever mastermind, that mental health becomes a part of that discussion, whether it's to bring someone in to have the discussion or being able to open up the group and offer mental health counseling or coaching to some of our group members. I think that we own the wellness of each other. And it's not an individual thing. And I might not struggle with depression or anxiety, but someone in my group may. And it's up to me to help them or get them to the resources that's going to help them. But it has to be a topic of conversation. It cannot be buried. In the Black community, we don't want to talk about it. We are afraid. We get stereotyped and we get labeled angry or whatever. And so it's just the thing in the Black community that we don't talk about. But now I'm seeing it. There's more of a conversation about it, which makes me feel so good. And being involved in the Boost Fed and even in my business, I recognize I own having that conversation. I may be that Black person that says, hey, we got to talk about it because it's real. And we don't have to be ashamed about it. Let's figure out how we have the dialogue and get help.
And you mentioned even one of your clients, you had a conversation with
Yes.
them about making sure that they included it with their
Absolutely. One of my clients just happened to be a coach for Miss USA who killed herself. And when this whole thing happened, my client, she had just written a book and she was devastated. And she has a pageant company that helps young ladies get into pageantry. And I said to her, you have to make this a part of your coaching. So, they have these 16 weeks coaching and they get these young people into pageants. A part of that coaching, that 16-week, one of those weeks or two of those weeks need to be around mental health for the parents of these young ladies, so that the parents are hearing it and the young ladies are hearing it too, because the world was devastated by Miss USA.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't know that, we've had any instances with it within my business. One of our
Mhm.
clients is Teen Health Connection, and I know they just got $300,000 for a few more facilitators because it is almost impossible to
Yeah.
get mental health support if you're a teenager. It's just, really, really difficult. So I'm proud to be able to support them with that endeavor. As a business owner, I try to always be there to listen and to be responsive as far as, time off when
Yeah.
it's needed. Always, always, always. I mean, it just makes sense. I think, happy employee is going to be more creative
Yeah,
and work harder and be happier. So, I think as a business owner, yes, 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 yes.
How about you, Mike? Both
Yeah.
within your business and with your role at the
Yeah.
SBTDC.
Totally. I was caught in a moment of reflection as you guys were sharing. Yeah, mental health has been like part of my whole adult life. Like I've been going to therapy ever since I graduated college. So for me, it's just something that I've always known that has been helpful. And just recently, within the last month, honestly, I think I've had more conversations with clients and teammates in the last month than I have in the last years about potentially
Yeah.
them wanting to think about therapy or considering it or whatever. And I'm the biggest advocate for it. If I always encourage people to try it. If it doesn't work for them, that's okay. Or maybe you need to try someone else or whatever. But it's nice to be having those conversations. I mean, I know I'm not that old, but I remember a time when it was a stigma
Yeah.
and when I was younger. And so it feels nice that we can talk openly about it. So that's even with some of my clients that I, have confidential conversations with or whatnot. But I've also noticed it just in my office at my job that it's okay for us to talk about it. It's okay for me to talk to my boss about it and not like use him as my therapist.
Totally.
Because there's boundaries. But I can tell him, hey, in therapy yesterday, I realized this is a problem. Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
And he's open to that. Not just with me, but with everybody on the team. And of course, there's a balance, right? We got to figure out how do you make sure you're getting what you need outside of work so that you can do a good job at work. But it's just, I've never felt as supported in a job as I do now. And I think that's huge. And I just talk to other people who don't feel that support, or maybe they don't get along with their manager as well, or they're not able to have those conversations. And that can make a huge difference. And I think as we're talking about all these reasons why people are leaving jobs and taking jobs, I would not be surprised if that becomes a focal point of how much is an employer willing to care about their employees' overall wellness.
Yeah, because mental health is health. It's not just physical health. Mental health it should all be the same.
Yeah. And I wanted to just tag on to something that Kim said, giving her teammates, the time, people that work for you, time away, as an employer, you take care of the people who take care of the business. And if you take care of them, they're going to do everything in their power to make your business work. So I think it's very important that you do that. So thank you.
Yeah, totally true. So last question before we get into questions from the audience is, what other trends are you noticing in how business relationships are changing? Or what tips do you guys have for the audience in how to navigate these changes?
Okay, so next time I'm going to switch with Kim.
I put you next to me because I knew you would be on it. So
my God.
No worries.
So I think, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So what other trends are you guys
Mhm.
noticing in how business relationships are changing? Or do you have any tips
Yeah.
for the audience in how to navigate these changes?
So I think in a business environment, we all have special gifts and talents, right? Even as a founder, I am not the expert on everything. And so I build relationships and bring people into my organization with the skill set that I don't have, so that they can, focus on what their gifting is. So I think from a relational perspective in business, find the people that can do things better than you, so that they can be a part of your business for that business to grow. So that's how I look at business. I find what my weaknesses are, and then find the people that can fulfill those weaknesses, bring them in the business, and it's a win-win. Another thing is never act as if you know it all, because no founder knows it all. We might be an expert in, I'm called the book midwife because I have a way of getting people's story. You can just tell me surface level story, and I might say to you, Mike, tell me about 7-year-old Mike. And then all of a sudden, you just tell me your whole life story, right? And so those are some of the tips for entrepreneurs that if you can know, you have to know where you're weak, where you're strong, focus on your strength, right? And then find the areas that you need help with, bring those people in, and your organization or your business will thrive as a result.
Totally. Love
And
it.
I read somewhere you bring the smartest people around you.
Yeah.
And then it's like, great.
Yeah.
You guys
You
handle
do that part.
That's right. Just we're thinking about positive outcomes of disrupting business as usual. Is that
Just any other trends that you're seeing or any tips you guys have, because, businesses are changing, like the relationships are changing. So do you have any tips? You mentioned networking earlier on, like network, but are there any other tips you have for the audience to help them as they navigate these changes?
Well, I have a couple observations.
Okay.
One is that we're a lot more casual than we used to be. That's so cool. I'm of the generation where, we used to wear pantyhose.
Me too.
And I'm glad that I don't have to do that anymore. I also, I'm also of the generation where all of the people on television when I started were men. So it was it was fortunately not too much of a glass ceiling because we did succeed. But so at the Austin business trip with the CRBA, it was just so cool to see your coworker, young black man, really, really sharp women. It wasn't all just white men.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I mean, nothing against.
Diversity.
I'm married to a white man, but it's nice to see the diversity,
Yeah.
and it's really it's delightful to see
Yeah.
the diversity because there's such energy and insight and humor and passion that there wasn't before.
Well, I think it's all about perspective, right? You get more people in a room, you get more people at the table, you get more perspectives, and it goes back to, hiring the best people around you who are doing like things that you can't do. And if you only limit yourself to a narrow focus, you're missing out on a whole array of other people.
Yeah.
Don't take that white man thing. I'm sorry.
No offense taken, trust me. I am right on the same page with y'all.
Yeah.
I think diversity is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And there have been conversations in my role at work where I've kind of pushed the same thing, saying like, we may have smart people on this project, but we could really use a little more diversity, more diverse perspectives. We also want to make sure we're representing the people that we're serving. I think that's super important. So those conversations are happening, and I always am advocating as much as I can. So I do agree. I think it's nice to see those changes coming, and obviously there's even more progress to be made. I mean, I don't think I have too much more to add because you guys said so many great things. I'll just echo the piece of the better you can understand your own strengths and limitations, the quicker you can start to understand where the gaps are and who you could try to hire or bring in to really help fill in those gaps. I definitely agree with that. And I would just, encourage folks to think about like, what is it that you feel like you're best at? What do you feel like you really want to be spending your time on in your business or whatever you're working on? And also, no surprise, I'm going to say the values piece, like how can you make sure that your values are aligning with the work that you're doing as much as possible? Because then those other things are really going to truly fall in place. And not only that, but you're going to, I think, manifest that with the people that you bring on board and how they're going to serve the people that you're trying to serve. And so all of those things, I think, are all interconnected.
I have one thing to add to that. Just because you're a solopreneur doesn't mean you need to go it solo. So either whether you're a one-person business or a two-person business, like you can have people help you with different pieces, whether it's brainstorming something a specific thing in your business, or it's, having a bookkeeper, an accountant, those type of things. Like those in the end, even if they're not your staff, they're contractors, they're still there to support you. So I really, a lot of what we've talked about today has involved teams, but I think it's all applicable to relationships that you might have with contractors as well, or just thought partners, I think that's another thing that these masterminds provide.
Lisa, could I just
yeah,
add
please.
one more thing to that? Because I forgot to say this because you asked what are the changes you're seeing. What I'm seeing in my business, and I'm talking about BoostFad, and I'm talking about the publishing company, is the fact that there are these mature and there are these millennials working together. And I absolutely love my millennials. I don't know if I can, that's why I'm on TikTok, right? I would have never been on TikTok
Well, I'm not,
had
so you
it
got
not
one
been
up.
for my millennials saying you can never be caught in the generation divide. They keep telling me that. So I have to stay, relevant to the generation, but that's something that I'm seeing that's kind of new in the trend, having the mature audience and the millennials working together. And I absolutely love that, because as you grow, you're bringing others along. That's legacy, right? So
Totally.
we're taking the gifts and the talents we have, the skills, the experience, the expertise, right? And we're giving it to the generation that's coming behind us. So that's legacy. So I love to see that we have this mix of not just diversity from a ethnicity, but also from an age difference as well.
And that's also why on this panel, we have different age ranges.
Yes.
We like different perspectives and also length of time in business. Sometimes, we'll have someone who's been in business, like you said, for a while, and, you drew from prior career. And then there's people that, maybe it's been their first year in business, but what their perspective is equally as valid, because, we all have people in different stages of their business who are in Advent. So, and, any of our guests as well. So we're going to turn it over to Q&A now, both the virtual. So Sam will be fielding me or funneling me any questions we have from the online, and also here in the audience, if you guys have any questions, it can be for the whole panel or it can be for one person specifically. And then I have a really quick announcement at the end after we go through questions. So anyone here have anything, or do we want to kick into the online?
Hi, my name is Zach. I'm actually here at Brattain as well. So a lot of the things that you all were saying as far as the involvedness of Charlotte, Sam, the entire team, so great job. This would be to Joan or to you, Mike. So I recently opened my own business a year ago, but my product that I offer is not tangible, and I do have a partner that is way more financial piece because I'm just not the best at it. But this is something that I had struggled with the past year is, okay, fine, we got our LLC up, we got our brand up, we got everything. But trying to go after people that are willing to invest in a non-tangible product type of thing. I've been laughing at so many offices. They're like, okay, what's your technology product? What is this? What is that? How can you quantify what you're doing? And when you're not able to do that in recruiting, I mean, there's a lot of money for recruiters. You can throw a rock and Charlotte and not miss a technology recruiting shop. But since we're one of 2 LGBT certified technology recruiting companies in the entire United States, yet I had not found a single person willing to invest in my company, just because I don't have a proprietary technology product, or if you don't have the ability to show the sheets and everything like that in order to have somebody able to invest. So from your 2 perspectives, BoostFad, and I can't remember what you said, but coaching young entrepreneurs, I'm 32 years old, I don't come from a wealthy family, I don't come from office. How do you find that funding to take yourself to the next step? Because I have had to rely on clients and strangers and networking and all that kind of stuff to be able to do that. But yeah, we're still completely 100% self-funded and owned, and we could have gone so much further faster and we would have had people buy into the vision. And so what are some concepts around that?
So I'm going to recap the question just so people online can hear it, just because you don't have a mic. So I'll try to distill that down. So been in business about a year, one of the only 2 LGBT recruiting firms in the country, how do you get funding when you don't have proprietary technology or anything that investors can latch onto because it's intangible product? So the question is, how do you get funding? What advice, Joan or Mike, do you have for this?
So I know that there's an ecosystem here in Charlotte that helps new entrepreneurs. From a boost pad perspective, you would not fall in that category, but there's so many other. So I'll connect with you after this and just get you connected to some of those ecosystem. And probably you'll be able to get a little bit more insight as to what you can do. Mike?
Yeah, also happy to chat with you offline afterwards because we can help, I'm sure, dive into that a little bit more. But I would agree. I think there's a lot of programs, just maybe based on what stage you're at and what the funding is going to be used for, what you really need that funding for right now. There could be incubator or accelerator programs that might have some funding opportunities alongside them, and or just doing some networking to better understand like what's available could be good places to start. I'm sure you've done some of that already, but there are funding options available. And then there's also the route of how can we bootstrap this, even if you have been in business for a little while, to continue to make progress so that you can support the mission and support the impact that you're trying to make. And it might be a slow and steady versus an off to the races thing, but happy to chat with you about it a little bit more. Yeah. And it's tough. I will say it's tough. I get these questions every day with people coming into our office. I'm sure, Joan, the work that you do, there's no one fit solution, unfortunately, but there's options.
I think that's a great answer in the sense of it's all about finding the right resource, and the more of the people that are connected in the entrepreneur community that actually know a lot of different organizations, the better. So I'm glad you guys are willing to connect afterwards. And I think that'll be really helpful.
There's a high growth, high tech cohort that I think you would fit right in with. So I'll connect you after.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from people here in person? Yes.
How do you guys, I just had a question because I work for a tech company, which actually he's my CEO. But how do you guys find top talent within your organization and nurture them, help them grow? I'm personally starting my own company, kind of not specifically networking, but more social connections within the city and the community within a community. And how do you go about finding them and nurturing them and giving them all the resources they need to, make stuff happen within the community? I've been working with my company for about 6 weeks now, and it's finally starting to pick up steam. We're finally getting into partnerships with networking organizations and everything of that nature.
I'm just going to let you guys answer with sort of some of his question in it so the audience can hear.
I'll give it a shot first. I would say it's great that you're thinking entrepreneurially and thinking about starting your own thing. I think before you can even think about attracting the right people, I think getting clear on like, what is your business going to do and provide? Like, is the value proposition really set, and really, really clear and compelling? And who are you going to be targeting in terms of an audience? I think once you can get those things in place, which you may already have, then you can start to think about, like we were talking about before, what are the things that you're capable of doing and where are the gaps and what are the things that you feel like you really need to support to the business, to support the mission, to make sure you're delivering on that product or service. And then once you have all of that clear, then to answer your question, where do you find that and groom that talent? Show up to co-working spaces, go to events, go to anything that relates to small business and entrepreneurship that you can find in Charlotte, in North Carolina, online. Just start talking, having conversations, know what you're willing to share and what you're not, because sometimes you might have some things that you want to keep confidential, but sometimes that can be a little bit tricky. But just start networking. Going back to what Kim said at the beginning, you'd be surprised. I mean, again, I mentioned this before, but 4 years I've been working at least once a week, usually out of Advent, and just the natural connections that have formed. many of it, which came through Lisa Speer, by the way. But
I do like to connect.
She does, and she's great at it. But also the Advent staff and everybody else. Just it becomes an easier, more organic way to meet people because you're just part of this ecosystem and you're kind of around people. And now that hopefully it's a little safer to do that, it's a little easier.
And I was just going to add to that. I think having real conversations, not pitching yourself. Networking is about relationships first and foremost. And so, yeah, it's great to, be able to say in a short sentence, like who you are, what you do. But at the same time, it's more important, I believe, to be able to build relationships and to have, focused questions. So like you might have a ton of questions, but I wouldn't, try to ask them all of one person. I'd kind of get to know who you're talking to and then what questions can they answer that will help you to that next step. That's just the thing I see. Do you guys have anything to add?
The only thing I would add is as you talk about, you want to start your own business and back to what Mike says, knowing your why do I want to start it, right? Knowing your what is the product, knowing your who, the ideal audience that is going to buy your product, and knowing your how do you get it to them, right? How do you get that thing to them? And just knowing that there's so many places you can go for even just to help you with the foundation. The Small Business Association is one. It is free. You can go, you can do that. And then SCORE, they're mentors, right? So go to score.org, I think it is. There's one here in Charlotte that you can go, and they're just mentors that will help you get access to the things you need. And then you talk about top talent. How do you find the top talent? You have to also understand, who do I want to work with me in this? So what are the talents that you are looking for? What should they be? Or should they be good in tech? Should they be good, in computer stuff, right? And so knowing what you want from someone to be with you and then going after that would be my recommendation.
Great. Okay. Do we have some online questions?
Yes, but how can our virtual viewers contact y'all to ask their questions and look more back?
Okay. So why don't you guys each share, kind of speak slowly. Sam, I don't know if you can type it into a chat or anything. Okay, great. So we'll start with Joan.
So I'm everywhere online. I have this big online presence, and it's Joan T. Randall everywhere. So whether it is LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it's Joan T. Randall. My business is Victorious You Press. So it's Victorious, like victory with a IOUS. YOU and PRESS. Or if you go to the BoostFad, you just type in theboostfad.org. And if you scroll to the founders or leaders, you'll see my name and you'll get all the information.
KimBrattain.com. There's an info thing down there. And the tricky thing
can you
is
spell
spelling
your last
Brattain. Yeah, it's Irish. Nobody ever pronounces it right or spells it right. It's BRATTAIN. KimBrattain.com.
So KimBrattain.com. Okay, great. Mike.
Cool. Best and easiest way to contact me, I think, would be through the SBTDC. So SBTDC.org stands for Small Business and Technology Development Center. You can find me on there pretty easily. And if you're interested in no cost business counseling or to learn about other ways we can support you, there's a link there to register for free for counseling. And that's available to anybody in North Carolina.
And could you spell your last name for people? It's Mike.
I can. It's Mike Barugel, and it's spelled BARUGEL.
And they could just go to the master website. There's not any division that they need to look for.
Yeah, you can click on Charlotte and my name should pop up there when you go to the website. But my email, just in case it's helpful, is mbarugel@sbtdc.org.
Okay.
I had to think about that for a second.
Any other online questions? Okay, great. So just to wrap up, first off, the panelists will be here after if you guys want to connect one-on-one. So that'll be fantastic. And also I like to ask people, they give me a little bit of information in advance. So some free resources and things that they have upcoming that you just might be interested in. So first off, Kim has a website that tackles everything from what to do with your hands when you're on camera to what to pay for a video to how to use TikTok. I think there's some magic here. And then Mike with the SBTDC is launching a Taking the Leap free program to help people launch their business. So that's a great resource if you're early into business. And then Joan has a movie coming out May 21st at Keith YMCA. And what's the title of it?
It is called The Image in the Mirror 2. It's a book that we wrote together, collaborated with 16 authors, and then we turned it into a documentary. So that comes out May 16th. May the 21st, Keith YMCA off of Mallard Creek.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for attending as an audience. Thank you all attending as a panelist and really sharing your wisdom and expertise with us. It's so appreciated, and I can't wait for us to continue another conversation. In the future, we will keep an eye out on Advent Co-working under the events, and we will work on the next topic to bring to you all. And if you have any, suggestions, feel free to share them. We'll let you know if we've already covered that topic or if we want to take a new take on it now. But love to obviously get ideas from people that could benefit all stages of business. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.